the show is on the road here for this week's episode of the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. We've got quite a bit to talk about here. As we promised, we're going to continue recapping the Dynasty about the New England Patriots that's streaming on Apple TV. We got episode 3 and 4 that were out, so we're going to be recapping that. And then we've got some other things that I don't know if we want to call new segments. We can talk of group chat text messages, which could go a whole bunch of different ways, but not the way you're thinking, where people think, oh, we're going to get canceled. We're not going to be talking about that stuff. That might be a subscriber based only. That might be some future money making scheme I got coming out. But I was at the NDSU-UND game over the weekend. I'll recap that. Ethan's going to give us a spring training report on the Twins, and Grant is going to give us an update at some point. Give us an update on his favorite NFL event of the year prior to the Chiefs winning all their Super Bowls. He's going to give us an update on the Underwear Olympics that's going on here as the NFL Combine kicks off. Marvin Harrison has finally found his way to Lucas Oil Stadium, and but first, Grant turned 30 last week, so happy birthday to Grant. 30 years old. 1 year older. We're not sure if he's another year wiser. We're going to base it off of his report he gives on the NFL Combine at this point. Combine, yeah. It's been a busy day. I came from a workout, and then we went and played. I had City League basketball tonight, so we're kind of throwing it back to the origins of the podcast. Ass? What's that?
Did anyone dunk on your ass?
No, they do not allow dunking in rec league. It's a technical. I know.
Nobody can do it anyway, so why disallow it?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying is if you can do it, go off.
Yeah, but who cares? I'm better than you.
Yeah. But
what if they go up and do like the soft dunk where they just like kind of drop it in over but don't touch the rim?
I think as long as they don't touch the rim, I think they're okay.
God, I wouldn't care.
Yeah, I would totally. In the words of Ethan, just absolutely baptize somebody.
Yep. We're washing the city.
That would be fun. That would be one of those sweet things to do, is just have the ability to go and baptize somebody. Which, since we're talking basketball right now, we might as well just talk about the controversy that happened at Wake Forest over the weekend, where the Wake Forest, who is a bubble team at the moment, they haven't really been in the NCAA tournament for about 10 years. The last time they were in, it was a couple of years ago. They lost in the first 4 games, so they really didn't even make the tournament here. Big win. They lost, and the crowd, the student section decided to storm the court. And the classic Duke, trying to be over dramatic, Kyle Filipkowski runs into somebody and acts like he needed his leg amputated. And you got guys like Duke homers, Duke alums that, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing in the world. Court stormings happen forever. And this is like the one time in 200 times that it happened. It's happened since Saturday too. There's been no injuries. But according to Jay Billis, who really has just fallen off after he tried to say that BYU players should be, after it was proven last year when a Duke volleyball player accused BYU students of saying racial slurs, which it was completely a lie, and he doubles down and talked saying that it happened, but it clearly did not. Now he is saying that fans who storm the court should be arrested and thrown in jail here.
Okay, Mr. Attorney.
Oh my God. Just because Duke lost. If it's a bench warmer, this is not even a talking point. So it's like, just shut up. Like, there's my opinion.
Well, and here's my thing. If Filipowski wants to make this an actual deal and have substance to it, he shouldn't have played tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he played.
He was hurt. He was sore. Okay. Tell me anybody that doesn't play a basketball game that isn't sore after they're running and jumping for 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna be sore. Get over here. The only reason this is an issue, and this is part of me wishes Coach K was still coaching, because I would have loved to hear him get up on his soapbox and talk about how awful this is.
Oh,
and
he would have been so pissed.
Oh, but
The reason why this story also has no merit is because this last year in football, Duke started the field when they beat Clemson at home.
yeah,
I understand
exactly.
It's two different sports,
Mm-hmm.
but don't come at me. Duke, if you're going to do it in football, you have to let other teams do it in basketball.
And according to Filipkowski, however you say his name, saying how it was a personal attack on him. Watch the video. You were the one that initiated the contact.
I was gonna say, it looked like
you started. He was Caitlin Clark. He was Caitlin Clark 2.0.
Again,
don't get me wrong.
I forgot she totally ran into that fan at Ohio State and embellished her reaction there to make it look worse than what it actually was.
But the difference is like Iowa fans, like you're still kind of you're an Iowa basketball fan, so it still counts here. But I mean, you admitted these Duke fans, they are insufferable. They will die on this hill. They will get their dad, who's a lawyer, on the phone and start talking to us and trying to give us the rundown on what laws were broken here, and try to throw us in jail for even bringing up the conversation that somebody was embellishing and faking it.
Until someone actually gets punched in the face by a fan, this is a non-talking point.
Exactly.
And if it's a Duke person, it's still a non-talking.
It's still a non-talking point.
Right?
It's actually encouraged.
We should give him a Purple Heart.
Here's my thing, Filipowski. It's not like you lost on some sort of half-court heave and it was tied 3-3 and then the place went crazy. You knew you were going to lose. Get your ass off the court and get to the sideline. You should know your surroundings. Know what team you play for. Know people hate you. Hey, you're Duke. You lose on the road in the state of North Carolina. Do me a favor. Get off the court as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, that's the other part is why
Where's
is
the
John
self-awareness?
Shire getting some blame? Like, you're Duke. When people beat you, that is their national championship, and that's a credit. I'm saying nice things about Duke. That's a testament to the program that they've built. That when you lose, it's like winning a national title to these schools outside of like the North Carolina, Kansases of the world. Why aren't you taking a timeout? Why is he even playing? Because well, they lost by 4, but it felt like it was kind of a late comeback where you could have taken him out. You could have taken a timeout. Hey, guys, they're going to storm the court. We're not shaking hands. We're just getting off the court here. So once that ball is inbounded, drop it and let's get out of here. Let's be safe. We'll talk. If we want to go shake hands, we can talk to him after the pandemonium settles down.
Well, and then Tuesday night this week, Mississippi State got caught with their hand in the cookie jar because with 4 minutes left in that game against Kentucky, they go, hey, fans, remember, storming the court is not allowed. You're not allowed to come on the court after the game.
Shut up.
And they blew it. They blew that lead. They lost on a buzzer beater because now the world is so paranoid we're going to run into Reed Shepherd or some sort of Kentucky player.
Yeah, he's from Kentucky, so who knows?
That's like saying, like, it's not like they can put that on the banner. And I heard that Mississippi State, they do that at every basketball game, is that like whatever, like at the under 4 timeout, that they put that over the Jumbotron as like a standard thing for every home game, is that they tell fans to stay off the court.
Well, that's just stupid. But it shouldn't surprise us because Mississippi State is an uneducated state, and Mississippi State
never win anything.
And they never win anything. When was the last time, besides college baseball, Mississippi State won anything where we were like, huh, good for them. They deserve to celebrate. When was that? When did that happen?
When they beat
I don't know.
Auburn in 2014, when Dak Prescott was quarterback, and then the next week they played Alabama and lost, and that was Grant where you and I had the conversation. Alabama definitely lifts in the morning.
100% they do. Alabama wakes up and lifts at 4:30, and Ole Miss, they turn the Xbox off after they win a national championship. Mississippi State, I'm sorry.
Same thing.
Same thing. I mean, green jacket, gold. It's Mississippi. Who cares?
Yeah.
That state doesn't matter. It's Mississippi. We don't matter.
I always think Mississippi's always like out on the coast by South and North Carolina, and then it's not even fucking close. I always imagine them over there.
No, it's literally like stuck
right in between Georgia and.
No, it's an LSU and
Alabama.
Alabama. It's between LSU. It's between Louisiana and Alabama.
Okay, so it's on the other side of Alabama.
The armpit of middle of nowhere.
Talk about low-income families. My God.
Well, it is the poorest state in the union. Fun fact for you.
It is.
Yeah.
Fun fact for you on the state of Mississippi. Now that we're
Y'all
bashing
try and
this.
catch gators, and that's not good money.
Some great hunting land, though. I've been told. My cousin Logan's gone down there to hunt, and he's got told some good stories. It's
they can't afford to
in
build them.
Conversation Monday. Go take a listen. Go down onto YouTube and check it out. But
Catch
another
this,
game.
Catch this. I actually do have a story here about the state of Mississippi. One year when my dad.
They also have Scuba, Mississippi, which is the East Mississippi Community College Lions, which was on Last Chance U. Just a beautiful. You know, I might change my tone. Mississippi might be my new Houston, Texas.
Okay, stop saying that.
That's pretty stupid.
But I've never been to Mississippi, so I can't yet. So Houston is still my Houston.
After you hear this story that I'm about to say, you're not going to want to go to Mississippi. This was my dad, I don't know, maybe 30 years ago, 35 years ago. Him and some buddies, they did like this crazy road trip where they drove from Iowa. They went down to New Orleans for a couple of days, then hung out in Bourbon Street, and then they drove from Louisiana to Florida. Well, they have to stop and use the bathroom or go to some convenience store in Mississippi. This place is so dirty and so run down and poor. They walk into the toilet. There are cockroaches all over the floor in this bathroom.
Oh.
And they were
That's so common down there, unfortunately.
I know. So they were like, okay, nope, we're just going to get going. See ya. Well, 20 minutes later, they're driving down the road, and they see this object in the mirror out of the front windshield in front of them taking a squat, and they're like, what is going on? There's some lady in Mississippi taking a shit on the side of the highway right next to traffic.
When you gotta go, man.
And they were just like, we got to get out of this state.
Grip it and rip it, man. Just go for it.
This is, in the span of 20 minutes, two just things you don't want to see that were not on their bingo card that day.
Sometimes you can't squeeze the cheeks hard enough.
No, you couldn't. This elderly woman had to go, and she was going on the side of the road. No chill, no nothing right there. So there's your Mississippi story for the day.
Well, they also refer to Starkville as Stark Vegas. So what happens in Stark Vegas stays in Stark Vegas?
Why? Because someone there makes $50,000 a year.
I was gonna do a Mike Leach joke, but I couldn't do it, so I'm gonna.
Oh my God!
We have great respect for Mike Leach, but it was funny because in Clay Travis's first book he had, who also had quite the take on Twitter this week, but he talked about how when he toured Mississippi State, he put in a preface, I still don't know a single person who's actually graduated from Mississippi State.
Well, like, it's funny you mention that because I know like 3 people in the NFL. You know, Dak, Willie Gay, and Chris Jones all went to Mississippi State. They never talk about graduating.
Huh.
Fair point.
They just went there.
This is true. They went there. Well, Stetson Bennett went to college for 7 years, and he never graduated, so
because
he's the modern-day Van Wilder.
Yeah.
I hope he gets help, but that brother needed to put the brown paper bag down.
But someplace that does actually graduate students, it is our college that we went to, NDSU played UND this weekend on Saturday, and I was at the game. My first time in the shack. The big push was to get 5,000 people in the building. They got 5,000 in the building. It was a tremendous atmosphere. It actually gave off some serious BSA vibes, showed what that building could be if the fans invest in basketball like they do in football. And we've talked about it on this podcast here too, is that I think we actually had more fun at the NDSU basketball games than we did at the football games.
Oh, 100%.
100%.
100%.
It's not even debatable. Not even close.
And this was at a time when, granted, they were two of the 3 years they made the NCAA tournament. They won a game. And the last year, or my freshman year, was the last year of the BAC when they had probably their best team in
Ever.
NDSU basketball history. Yeah, not probably. It is.
I'll take that win over Oklahoma over any of the national championships any day of the week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure.
Without a doubt. The buzz and the excitement over that Oklahoma win was unmatched.
That was unreal.
No disrespect here to NDSU football. Congratulations. Beat Sam Houston State again. Nobody cares.
Go beat Oklahoma.
When you beat Oklahoma, you made the news. That was a big deal.
And the two most watched NDSU events in school history are NDSU basketball games when they beat Oklahoma in 2014 and in 2019 when they got absolutely screwed by a bunch of calls by the officials against Duke. And they
had Duke on the ropes even.
They did, and they covered the spread against Duke. So basically, they won the game.
Didn't they have Kansas on the ropes one year?
They did.
Yeah, that was that 09 team.
This is Ben Winkleman type stuff.
Yeah,
we were like in high school.
Lucas Mormon.
If I'm not mistaken, one of NDSU's their best players was he a kid from Albert Lee?
Yeah, Ben Woodside. Yep.
Yeah.
That team played with him was absolute money in NCAA basketball 09. His step back three was as wet as Steph Curry's was in that game.
We played Winkleman. I didn't, but my high school played Winkleman in high school, and that was just a man amongst boys. Like you didn't see that very much in Southwest Minnesota.
Yeah, and then their center was he was a Mr. Basketball finalist, or won Mr. Basketball in 04. Was from went to Dickinson High. Was a 6'9" midget. 6'9". Because if you guys didn't know,
Bismarck High.
And no. If you guys didn't know this, but Dickinson High School's mascot is the Dickinson Midgets.
I actually love that.
Yep.
That is so good.
We've been friends for almost 10 years, and how has that never come up?
Well, probably because you have that arrogance because you went to Trinity. You're the Catholic school kid. You think you're better than everyone else?
No, that's not exactly true because there are pictures of me as a midget because Trinity did not have a cross-country team. So I had to go run cross-country over at Dickinson High. So I was a midget.
So either he didn't tell us that or he did and we just didn't care and we didn't listen.
He definitely didn't tell us because he knew.
What else is new? You guys don't listen to me. Unbelievable. Wow.
You want to hear the opposite of a midget? Chop Robinson. Did you guys see how much he weighed as a baby?
Wasn't he like 13 pounds?
14 pounds.
Oh my God. How is his mother? I feel bad for his mother.
Yeah.
Like
what was Connor's second baby? How much did the second one weigh?
Oh God. I think it was like 9'1".
Oh jeez. That's lightweight.
Lightweight compared to this.
I told Hannah that. She goes, I hope to God she had a C-section.
I was actually just going to ask you that, Ethan. I was going to try to not be grotesque and say, I hope to God they cut her open because
I don't know how she'd do it if they didn't.
Oh my God, like Stewie Griffin, I tore that shit up.
But anyways, back to the game. It was a
hey, fun fact for you, real quick. So my parents, how nice of them. In high school, they let me miss freshman and senior year every Friday of the NCAA basketball tournament, guys. And that NDSU Kansas game sticks out because that was the first Friday they let me stay home and miss school. And as I'm watching basketball all day at home, I remember watching that game thinking, "Oh my God, they're going to do it. They're going to beat Kansas." And they were the defending champs too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, they were.
So I remember that game distinctly because my parents, that was the first day they let me stay home from school when I was totally fine to watch the basketball tournament.
Yeah, that was always the nice part about us was that opening weekend was always the same weekend as state basketball. So we always had that Friday off anyways. So I was able to watch that. But back to the game here. It was the first half was it was back and forth. It felt like NDSU could have been up by more, but UND was on fire from three. I think they hit 4 or 5 threes in the first half. NDSU was like 2 of 12 from three, but they made it up for it by going low in the paint. And it was 33 at half. And then UND came out hot. They continued that hot shooting in the second half, and NDSU struggled to get buckets, but they never led. I think the most UND led by was 8 at one point, and it felt like UND had all the momentum at the under 8 timeout. Not long after that, NDSU kind of started to make a little bit of a run, but UND was still in control of the game. And then all of a sudden, you look over and you hear another whistle after a foul, and it was the refs teeing up UND's head coach Paul Sather, and that brought the Shack back to life. Gave NDSU some extra juice, and after that, it was all Bison able to get stops, limit them to one shot, and Andrew Morgan had a big game. He was like 11 of 14 at 27 points, hit a couple of big threes, which he did not, which he's not really known for. He's got a tremendous low post game, and they found a way to win in front of a packed crowd. Hopefully they can keep that going because they got another big one on Saturday, and that could potentially, depending on what happens tonight, which is Thursday, it could be for the conference championship. So it would be awesome to see a packed Shack again beating playing South Dakota State for a Summit League title in the 1 seed. So big weekend.
Top. I didn't know how close.
Yeah, it was on the sides, like in the corners. There was a lot of empty seats, but like the lower side bowl, the student section was filled. Oh, yeah, NDSU right now is the 3 here, and I was trying to find it, but if South Dakota State wins tomorrow night in Grand Forks, they clinch the 1 seed. Right now, South Dakota State is 10-4. UND is 9-5.
Off here, they were in first.
Who is?
St. Thomas.
Yeah, I think I just don't think they have enough depth of Division I players. I think they're still struggling a little bit from the D3. They getting a little bit worn down. They don't have the size that the upper echelon teams like South Dakota State, NDSU, UND have. But I mean, there's definitely some interesting storyline because South Dakota State's going to be in it. NDSU's been in the championship game for the last
5 years.
Yeah, the last 5 years. And Kansas City is a scrappy team. Omaha has a tremendous player in Frankie Fiddler. Omot from Denver could get hot. That bit the Bison in the ass in Denver after they were up 20. But yeah, it's going to be a fun Summit League tournament, and we'll be crazy to think we're already going to be talking about that next week here. But a lot to play for. If NDSU or UND beats South Dakota State Thursday, and then UND UND loses to South Dakota. That's going to be a tall task. But NDSU's got South Dakota tonight, and who's been reeling, but they beat NDSU in Fargo to open Summit League play. So, nothing's going to surprise you in the Summit League. So, but I think for NDSU's sake, getting that 2 seed is crucial, just because getting that. Well, not even getting on that, but if you're the 1 or the 2 seed, you play Saturday instead of Sunday, and you get that day off instead of having to play 3 straight games.
That's fair.
So we'll be previewing the Summit League tournament next week here, but let's kick it over to Ethan here. Spring training is underway. Do you have a spring training report on the Twins for us?
It's been only 3 games now. I don't think they've won one. They've tied, but Buxton played center field. That's, I think, the biggest thing so far.
How did he look?
First time, fine. I think it was the first time in 450 some games or some days or something like that he hasn't played out there. So damn near 2 years. I think he played 4 innings out there, got 2 at bats, walked once, and I think he flew out to right, if I remember right. Correa's been fine. He played a game. Julian was 2 for 3 today, so he's continuing to do what he did last year. Only downside, Pablo gave up a homer today, left a breaker up. First start is what it is. And then Duran gave up a homer too. So they got absolutely shit stomped by the Orioles today, but not very many players actually played. So I always take these games with a grain of salt until you get more towards like the last week or two, when they get the rookies out, the non-roster invites get out of there, and they get more at bats for the real guys. But otherwise, they're healthy right now, and that's honestly all you can ask for.
It sounds like Jose Miranda so far is having a really good spring training.
Yeah, he's had a couple good games already. So he went 2 for 3 one day. So if he can pick up, that's just more depth they have at the corner in case something would happen, more infield depth on top of. I can't believe they kept Kyle Farmer, but here we are.
Yeah. So that's our Twins spring training report. Now, Grant, what do you got for the NFL Combine here? Who's looking the best in the underwear Olympics?
Well, to be determined, because it kind of seems like, guys, it's a trend here going forward where your elite of the elite prospects are not participating. They're just going to do their interviews. They're going to talk with teams, and we're going to see what happens. I am kind of bummed out that, if you ask me, maybe not me, but the 3 best quarterbacks, Drake May, Caleb Williams, and Jay Daniels, are all not participating and they're not throwing. And the reason that
Grant, but I also made sure everyone knew I am not participating in workouts this year at the Combine. Yeah. So everyone's all on the same page.
Many were wondering.
Thank God. Yeah. I was worried. I was like, I haven't heard if Ethan's participating or not.
Specifically, I'm not throwing the ball. Just
what a shame.
Yeah.
What a shame. Yeah, but the reason I kind of bummed out those guys aren't is because why not go out and compete and put yourself out there and show you, hey, I can do this with any receivers I have. Look what CJ Stroud did last year. He went out there and he absolutely dominated Indy. It was the first time he was ever able to participate in anything in Indianapolis. So why not go out there and try to separate yourselves? Like if you're Drake May, you're either quarterback 2 or you're quarterback 3. Go out there and show off your arm talent. Separate from Jaden Daniels. I know it's with a bunch of receivers you haven't worked with before, and all this blah 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 blah. But if there's questions about your footwork or your mechanics, show it off at the combine when you're throwing. If you miss a pass, you miss a pass. That's okay. So I'm kind of bummed out the top quarterbacks, aren't going to be doing that. But I'm just kind of, the one thing that's always intriguing to me, guys, is the people who test well, but then when you watch them on film and they don't play like that. They don't play like they test. Like your receivers who run a 4.3 or your running backs run a 4.3, but they don't have that breakaway speed. And you're like, why doesn't the film match what you put there in your underwear? And then also you feel good for the guys who maybe don't test too well. Like last year, like Puka Nacua, I think he ran a 4.57.
Ivan Pace.
I think a 5th. No, Puka was a 5th rounder, and Pace undrafted. and they went out and they were all rookies last year. You feel good for those guys. So I'll be intrigued to see some of the players like that. And then what I'm really intrigued in is to see what Cooper DeJean's not going to participate because of the broken ankle, but is he going to play corner? Is he going to play safety? His 40 time would have determined that. So I guess we'll have to wait till next season and see where he gets drafted.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point though, Grant, about the about guy runs a 4.3 but doesn't have breakaway speed. And Mark Schlereth was talking about that on his podcast, the Stinking Truth podcast, about how when he was going, he didn't get invited to the combine. He went to Idaho, so he was going to be a late round draft pick. But now it seems like teams do is they use the combine to justify why their production on the field doesn't work out, where it used to be, oh, this guy tests well, let's see let's turn on the film, let's see what this guy does, let's see and then let's see what the testing is like. Oh, like Mark Schlereth talked about how he, he was just mauling people at Idaho in the Kibbe Dome, and then when he would do his testing, like at his pro day and stuff, he tested well, and that it justified that he was, just added reason as to what made him more of a desirable draft pick for teams.
No, it makes sense. And how many guys do you see each year who go out and with up to 3 years of game film, 2 years of starting, all the stuff that's out there, we sit back and they show us who they are as a player, but then they sit back and they run faster, they jump higher, they do all this other stuff we're not used to, and that doesn't match what the play is. How these teams fall in love with him, and they're like, you know what? The sense of arrogance they have, our coaching staff, we just get our hands on him, we'll mold him into the player he is. He'll do this and he'll do that. Well, no, that's not going to happen because your receivers coach you're saying is going to mold this guy. This is his third job in 3 years. He's not a good coach. Like, get out of here. This player showed who he is. And the fact that he ran faster, you're not going to change that. So that should be a reason for you to turn on the film and ask yourselves these questions. How come he ran a 4.3 but he can't finish and he can't outrun someone in a game like that? So
flip his hips.
Yeah, exactly. Like when the DBs are doing that W drill, how come he can drive on that in the drill, but in the game he can't do that to intercept a pass or get a PBU? So I don't know. It's just it's a bit much, and it just kind of feels like it's an excuse for NFL teams to just nitpick and say, oh, we can't take this guy, or oh, we should retake this guy, blah blah blah. I think you're going to see a trend here, guys, in a couple of years where you see teams not going. Sean McVay hasn't been there since the
Cowboys didn't go.
The Cowboys didn't go. Sean McVay hasn't been to a combine since 2018. Shanahan and his staff, they're staying in Santa Clara.
They can all watch it on TV just like us.
They can all watch it on TV. Yeah, they don't need any of this.
Unless you're going there just to interview.
And even if that's the case, just have your front office people there. Make sure if they don't pass the first rounds of interviews with your front office people who are making the final shots, then they don't need to meet your coaching staff.
Like I was listening to Quezzy today with PA. He said when he's in there with he doesn't even ask questions. It's a 15 to 18 minute conversation. He just sits and analyzes how they're doing it, and some of the coaches, the scouts, for other front office, they all ask the question. He just introduces everyone, and then boom, the guys take over, which I thought was also interesting.
That is.
Well, yeah, I guess right there, then you're just you're judging him off, his nonverbals. Does he come in? Does he take command of the room? Mm-hmm. Is he in charge of the interview? Is he, when he's answering his questions, does he have confidence when he's saying it? Is he looking the other person in the eye when they're asking him these questions like that? I kind of like it, actually. It's a different approach.
Yeah.
But from that, you get to sit back and you get to see, because 90% of communication is nonverbal.
Yeah, and maybe he probably has some questions that he wants those guys to ask, and he can kind of sit back, and take notes where he's not the one doing all the talking. He can just observe and write down his thoughts and kind of when the day is done, they get back and they go over each interview. Say, what did you say? Oh, I noticed this. Oh, yeah, I noticed this too. Oh, I didn't see that, but I could see that now. But so
Did you
very,
guys
very.
see the grades from the NFLPA for each team today?
I did see that.
I saw the Hunt family did not get a good review.
The Chiefs were 31st, but their coach was first, which is so wild to me. Like,
so essentially, from what I got out of it, because I saw the reports last year, the Chiefs were 29th last year.
Yep.
Essentially, you kind of look at it like this: the teams who are in the top 10, they're all the ones with the newest facilities, the best cafeteria,
right,
the best weight room. They've invested in these last 10 years. Their airplane is up new and to date when they travel well.
Yeah, a lot of this isn't about football.
It's not about football. It's about your day-to-day operations.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, the Hunt family, Clark just seems like a real cheap ass. Like, I think last year when they were ranked 29th, the Chiefs came out and they said, hey, something about we need a new locker room. We need new chairs in the locker room. The locker room's not up to date, blah, 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 blah. Well, his response and his justification was this. Well, we just got done with a playoff run. We didn't have time to do any of that.
Which it sounds like they actually just announced that they're going to be doing some renovations at Arrowhead.
And Dylan, that's the funny thing. Today it comes out that as an owner, he got an F, and he's kind of a cheapskate, and he doesn't want to redo these practice facilities and get them more state-of-the-art. Right as this report comes out, they announced that they're going to put like $800 million total into renovating Arrowhead to keep it up to date and such like that. So they released that. They knew what they were doing. They were
well. And the other part too is there's rumors that Kansas City or the Royals may be moving downtown, which also
so then they have the
would
whole
leave
parking lot to themselves.
So what they decided to do with Kauffman is a pretty big stadium. They could build a nice state-of-the-art facility. And you know what? Who knows? Maybe not having the nicest facilities, that doesn't always translate to wins. Just like my NFL team. They've got one of the nicest facilities in the NFL, and they don't win shit. So, you know what? It keeps those guys hungry. Stay humble, eat crumbs.
The only one that really matters is the coach one, and this is the first year that one came out. Andy Reid won, KOC 2.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, was Dan Campbell 3?
I don't know. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Actually.
Another one that I thought was interesting for this was the training staff.
Yeah.
I saw the Vikings got an A. I think the Chiefs got like a
D
or an F
29th or something
on the training staff. And I was curious. I mean, every team deals with injuries, but
what was Washington's? Washington had to be dead.
Washington, they got an F in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 7 of the categories I saw, Dylan, they got an F.
That's such a shame. So sad.
Oh, it is. But yeah, with the Chiefs training, unless maybe it's an old room.
That's all I can think
of. The pool's bad. I mean, everyone has injuries, but these guys who were hurt this year, they were all like season-ending injuries. It's not like, hey, this guy had a hamstring, this guy had a calf. Last year Mahomes, the sprained ankle against Jacksonville, comes back against Cincinnati and has nothing but praise for that assistant athletic trainer. So I don't know how they grade that or what goes into it, but I mean, not like it matters. The Chiefs went from 29th last year to 31st this year, and they still won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I will say this: you drive through Kansas City, and I've driven by Arrowhead and that complex a couple of times. You can tell it's dated. You can tell that building is 25,
especially the area around it. They need to do some
around it, yeah.
Because Kansas City is not known for the cleanest and the safest streets in the United States.
Well, let's call a spade a spade. When you have 2 major interstate systems that run through that city, you are going to have drugs and you're going to have human trafficking. It is what it is, and to your point, you can tell that facility is 25 years old.
Yeah. Well, and like just the area around it, there's nothing. Like there's nothing. There's like one hotel. There's really no restaurants. It's just a big parking lot, and that's it.
Mhm.
So definitely some changes are in line. So I would expect, especially with their most recent success, over the top successes, there's going to be some nice hopefully some nice developments over by Arrowhead. So let's keep this show moving here and get into the meat and potatoes. We've rambled on for about 40 minutes here about we actually this was a good entertaining conversation. We roasted each other a couple of times. We got a good spring training report. We got a good NFL combine report. We got to talk some basketball. We got to call Jay Billis a clown. And let's transition over to episode 3 of the Dynasty about the New England Patriots. It's streaming on Apple TV here. After watching these 2 episodes, I didn't think they were as good as the first 2. I thought episode 3 was pretty interesting, talking about how Kraft grew up in the New England area. He dreamt of going to the Super Bowl before owning the team, and when the Patriots actually came to Massachusetts, the Crafts, they bought season tickets, and that was kind of something that bonded them together as a family, of going to the game despite how bad they were. And Kraft just talked about how he just kept working and working to build up to eventually try to own a team. So he started by buying the parking lots, and then I believe he bought the stadium.
Bought the stadium.
Is that?
Yeah.
He bought the stadium.
Basically, to
Bought the
weed
stadium.
out
The team
people that
finally
would try to buy the team.
And yeah, it scared off the people trying to buy the team. And when Kraft took over, there was a newfound excitement. He went out and hired one of the best at the time, arguably probably the best coach in the NFL, in Bill Parcells. And he was right away, he was beloved. There were people that were cheering him on, that were excited anytime he would be out in public. And Parcells, it was finally an ownership that was actually committed to winning and doing things the right way to build something sustainable in New England. And they got there. 4 years after buying the team, they make it to the Super Bowl in '96, where they play the Packers, and it was kind of marred by there was a lot of distractions going into that game, where the team, they said they noticed that Bill Parcells, there was something off. They just felt like he wasn't coming back. And that's when they cut to Robert Kraft, and they talk about how, well, if you ask Parcells, he took the power away. Kraft felt that Parcells was making the best decision in the best interest of Parcells. And they were in the media and talking points leading up to the game. It was, he's going to be a New York Jets coach by about 9 a.m. Monday morning. And the players felt like they were distracted and constantly being asked what the situation is with Parcells, and just took the oxygen out of the room, essentially.
Yeah, I had no idea that was the case until seeing this. And like, that's absolutely wild. Like, to think you're going into the biggest game of your football career. This is the first Super Bowl this organization has been in 11 seasons. And your head coach is pretty much saying, yeah, I'm sick of this place. I'm leaving. I'm going to go back to coach the other team in New York. Like, and in your own division too, being the Jets. That's just wild. Like, apparently business in the coaching world, in the NFL world, is just a lot crazier than you'd think. But in Parcells, going into this, dude, it's like, you're already a 2-time champ. Like, if you stay focused and you can win another one with another organization and you get 3, you're viewed in a totally different realm than you are right now. Like, some people might say he's the second greatest coach of all time behind Belichick. So learning about that was just absolutely crazy. I was like, I had no idea there was that much drama going around with him leaving this job.
Yeah, for sure. And then it cuts back to 2001 in the AFC Championship. And that's actually how episode 3 starts, is with the captains talking with Jerome Bettis. And then Brady was getting hit early in that game, and then it just took one low hit to where it knocked him out of the game, and Bledsoe comes in. And Drew Bledsoe's been fantastic in this. Listening to him talk about it, and maybe it helps being 20 years removed where he's got a much different perspective about it, which helps. Talking about how he hadn't played in a long time, and it felt like Tom led them all the way there. He gets hurt. Just the bad luck the organization has had, and Drew's attitude was, screw it. I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to play as hard as I can and see what happens. He had nothing to lose at that point. He probably saw the writing on the wall that he wasn't going to be back in New England that year. So he figured, what the heck? This is good audition for whoever my next team is going to be. And they win, beat them 24-17. They advance to the Super Bowl. They're going, and it cuts to, I can't remember who it was, but cuts, we're going to Bourbon Street. And which, back to, in a sense, the scene of the crime where they lost to the Packers in that 96 year. And they started at staying in a hotel in downtown New Orleans. And then they actually moved to the outskirts, which is very much a rundown. Kind of reminded me of, if you remember in episode 1 where they talked about where the rookies were put up for training camp for New England. And Lawyer Malloy starts complaining about, hey, these rooms suck, man. I can't deal with it. And Bill, being the servant leader that he was, said, you know what? How about you just take the head coach's room? So Bill, I was like, I'm going to be up at the crack of dawn anyways. I'm not going to be sleeping much. I can lay my head there for a few hours and get back to work. So I'll take your room. You can have my room.
Well, weren't they sleeping on like twin beds too?
Yeah, pretty much.
In that hotel? That's crazy.
World's changed.
Where they talk about how like your arms, like they lay down and their arms are just fall off the bed.
And their legs, their legs are like that SpongeBob meme where he's all yoked up and his legs are on the ground and his arms are right here, where you're not going to get comfortable on that bed.
Yeah. You think any of them slept on futons?
Possible.
Pull-out
couch.
Yeah. Well, I bet you Sunday night there was nobody pulling out.
Nobody was no. That pull-out couch was the thing pulling out after that Super Bowl.
But we talked about in 96 being distractions with the head coach. There was also the controversy with New England was a quarterback controversy because Bledsoe, who was the $100 million franchise quarterback still, but was sitting on the bench, who got them to the Super Bowl after Brady went out. There was a lot of talk of who was gonna play, and Bill ended up deciding the Patriots ended up deciding to go with Tom because they felt that he was the one that got him there. We're gonna keep rolling with him, and I can't imagine how tough of a conversation that would be. Drew probably handled it better than 98% of the world. He said he was like, yeah, I was disappointed, but at the end of the day, we were going back to being a Super Bowl. And Teddy Bruschi, who's also been great in this, talked about how he did his job, he put the team first, and really kind of started the origins of the Patriot way.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, how this team didn't win more games with Bledsoe with this defense behind him is kind of crazy. Richard Seymour, Teddy Bruschi, Ty Law, Mike Vrabel, like
Willie McGinnis.
Yeah, it's just how? Like, what did you do to F up these games? Because this defense should never have given up more than 20 points.
No.
And then the game happened. And we haven't even talked about the game where they were 14-point underdogs going into this. And, John Bon Jovi does a great, I thought him talking about it where it was the red, white, and blue. It was America, the Patriots, they were one. They felt as a team, they felt that they had an obligation because of 9/11. They were the one, and they were all together, which is why they decided to run out together instead of doing these starting lineups here. But I thought it was interesting when they talked about the Rams is, they admitted that the Rams were by far and away a more skilled team, more talented team. But they said, I think Willie McGinnis goes, they were soft, and which talks about the genius of Belichick here is early in the game, just latch onto their jerseys. They're not going to call holding. And if they do, or Ernie Adams talked about this, and if they do, stop for a little bit and then come back later, because they're not going to call it in this big stage. They're going to let you play, and it worked. They were up 14-3 at half, and he had Robert Kraft talking about what he was going to say when he got up on the stage when they won the Super Bowl, and then all hell broke loose, as Ernie Adams described it. Said they pitched a shutout for 50 minutes, and then all hell broke loose. And then with a minute 30 left, tied 17-17. Madden, everybody else is talking about kneeling it, and which we're learning more and more about this is Ernie Adams is 1,000% the brains behind the entire Patriots dynasty and operation. It doesn't make this is the only explanation, because Belichick wanted to kneel it, but Ernie Adams got on the headset with Bill and said that defensively they were out of gas, and they weren't sure if the game got into overtime if the defense would be able to stop them. So they said, let's at least try to be aggressive. Let's go give Vinatieri a shot. And Belichick is in Brady's ear telling him, take care of the ball. Take care of the ball. And Bledsoe, being the cool, collected customer that he was, just said, fuck that. Go out there and sling it.
That is so cool. That's for Bledsoe to just be like, Tom, you worked so hard for this. Let's go here. Let's win this thing. Let's win this thing. Let's go be aggressive.
What is that, second year guy now?
Yeah, that was his second year.
Yeah, second year. He said, go be that guy. Become him. Sit out there, go out there, spin it. The Rams are going to be ready for this. Go out. You got a Hall of Fame kicker behind you. Get him in field goal range and win this thing. That's so cool. For Bledsoe to say that, where it's like, Drew, you're telling some guy to go out and create a legacy and be a global superstar, and you're always going to be the guy who got hurt, but you're telling him, just go out there and spin it. Let's win this thing.
And it gave him the confidence. And just the confidence that they had in their second year play caller who was just a guy at that point. And then they go win the Super Bowl. And I thought Bray was funny when they had to go do some press conference for winning, being presented the Super Bowl MVP. And Brady gets in the car with Bill, and Bill just reeks of booze from the night before.
Looked at him. Hey, Tom, you played pretty well.
yeah, you played pretty well this year.
You played pretty well this year.
Which and then that was kind of the Belichickian way of, you see him at the parade or at parades going, no days off. That's where it came from. And then it doesn't really talk much about it kind of skips the Patriots beating the Panthers, doesn't really talk a whole lot about that game. And then it goes to them beating the Eagles, and that was, or leading up to that, where it was like the first time they heard Dynasty, and Teddy Bruschi talks about how hearing that was like a drug. It was like chasing a high that he wanted, and it wasn't easy by any means, but by the end of it, like after they won that third Super Bowl, it felt more of a relief and monkey off their back that they won it, rather than that joy and excitement that winning that first one was like.
Well, yeah, because you've been there, you've done that, and then your only sole focus is on winning. It mentally wears you out, which kind of like after the Bulls' first three-peat, Jordan was just mentally exhausted. He couldn't do it anymore because that becomes who you are. It consumes you. and you win a game, and it's like, oh, well, we did what we're supposed to do. But then you lose, and it's all you think about for the next 6 days, and it has to drive you just absolutely insane.
So yeah, and then another good part was after winning the first Super Bowl is it got Brady a new contract. It made him a millionaire, and he's sitting in with his former roommate and says, "I'm a millionaire," and then cranks up the song Black Betty and starts rolling down the street. I'm not gonna lie. After I watched that, and when I got into my car to go to work on Monday, I may or may not have played Black Betty with the volume all the way up driving to work. So, but that I think that wraps up episode 3 here. Let's go over to episode 4, and this is where we get into the juicy details. And I'm kind of disappointed. This is kind of where I wish what they would have done is I wish they would have waited a little bit longer, because I think that's what made The Last Dance so good, is because we still have, while this was being made, this was still in the middle of the season. At the time, Bill Belichick was still the head coach of the Patriots. So they weren't, he wasn't much of a talker in this one about Spygate, which we get into. And that's where I say that they should have waited a little bit longer, where everybody is kind of a little bit more removed, similar to the way Drew Bledsoe was from this. 20 years has been time to kind of reflect in Spygate and maybe relaxed a little bit. I don't know if Bill Belichick will ever relax, but they talk about the sign stealing. They goes to the Patriots losing to the Colts in the 2006 AFC Championship and trading Randy Moss. A funny story of how he finds out he's traded. He's walking into the club in Vegas and he gets a call. "Hey, is this Randy?" "This is Bill Belichick." And he hangs up, and then he calls him again. He's like, "No, who's messing with me?" And after a while of some coaxing, that Bill got through to Randy that it was actually Bill Belichick calling him. "We just traded for you. We're going to be a Patriot." And he buys a 12-pack of Corona and says, "I'm going to be a Patriot." And a lot of hype going into that season. They also traded for Dante Stallworth and Wes Welker, so that offense was loaded. And then in opening day, they're playing the Jets, and talking with the head of security, Patrick Aramini, caught a guy, the Patriots, recording the Jets defensive coaches, and they confiscate the camera and said that we're just going to turn this over to the NFL. They meet with the league, meet with Ernie Adams, and they talk about how the teams were stealing signs. This was at a point where the offense had a microphone in the helmet and the headset in the helmet, but the defense was still signaling it in. And Belichick, it would be interesting to hear him talk more about this, but all he really said about this, he kind of had that resting bitch face of, all he said was, it's in the past and he's atoned for his sins. They did it to study better. And this shows the strong ownership too of Robert Kraft, because he said he was pissed at Bill about this whole situation, but to help limit distractions, he protected him and protected his reputation. It turns out that Kraft had such a strong relationship with the NFL, and such the NFL people in the NFL offices looked at Kraft with such great respect. It kept a Bill from getting suspended.
Yeah, Bill and Ernie Adams can kind of try to play this victim card or say, "Hey, we're not talking about it, blah, blah, blah. This was in the past." You can't convince me that these guys didn't know wholeheartedly 100% what they were doing. They were stealing signs, and they were cheating. And it's not like, what Ernie Adams said, well, you could get those signals looking at the press conference. You have some guy getting video and then sending it to Ernie, and then Ernie sending those signs directly to Bill. This is cheating 101, and like Jackie McMullen said,
no, it's not cheating.
Okay, Mr. Michigan, trying to defend this over here. You can't. The fact that Belichick tried to play it off as dumb when he was the most detailed guy in the world, you can't convince me that he didn't know what he wasn't doing. And it's just the ultimate. He thought he was better than us because he thought he didn't have to listen to these rules, and he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. And you know,
I think this is more that Eric Mangini is a rat, and he should be treated as such, and that's why he was never a good NFL head coach, is because he's a rat.
And you know, it's funny you mentioned that, Dylan. I thought it was so comical how Pioli there tried to almost play off the victim card. Oh no, you know what? The one rule about the family, you got to keep it in the family. You got to do this and you got to do that. Give me a break. Mangini was there in New England when he probably knew Belichick was doing this. He probably didn't like it, and it stuck with him. And then after a while, he just realized and said, "You know what? We can't do this. This is cheating." And then he snitched on him and how Pioli and Belichick are trying to play this victim card. How, oh, he shouldn't have done that. If he knew about it, he should have been quiet. Blah 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 blah. You know, just give me a break, New England, because people now, they refer to Belichick as a cheater, and they don't give these first 3 Super Bowls as much credibility because of this. So I just thought it was kind of funny how they tried to play off the victim card and pass it off as, oh, no, it was a misunderstanding. Oh, we didn't know the rules. You know, Bill, you can't say that because you knew the rule in 2019 when you were playing the Jets, when you had all those false starts to keep the clock moving. When you were up 33-0 on a Monday night game, you knew the rules. You thought you were just better than us and could get away with it.
They found a loophole in the system. That's all they did. And they, you know, what it did though is it rallied that team together, and it brought them closer, and it pissed the team off because they felt that the coach was attacked, and the team at the time loved Bill, and that Bill. And the offense just kept putting up points and putting up points and putting up points. And that was Bill's way. It felt like that was Bill's way of getting back at the lead. They embraced being the bad guys after every win. They would go and play. They would crank Another One Bites the Dust, which is all-time classic. And, you know, that was something that Bill encouraged. He wanted the guys to be happy, and he wanted them to celebrate their successes, and that's how they did it. Which, I don't know about you guys. Did you guys have a song that you guys would play after a win?
Not that I can remember.
No. This year our guys, the last couple of years, I don't know the origins of it, but they would play they would play Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson.
It's not a bad one.
Which is interesting.
We don't know how it started, but and I don't think we've ever actually asked is like, where did you guys come up with playing this one? But they do. And like the first Since You've Been Gone, they all just let it out loud. So that's fun to listen to. I always look forward to getting back to the school, into the locker room after a win, and hearing them play Since You've Been Gone.
You want to hear a wild stat right now, guys?
Absolutely.
At one point, so at halftime, the Gophers were down 48-45. Second half, they were, at one point, 14 of 20 from the field. At that time, Illinois led by 6.
How was that possible?
I don't know. It's everything. They make everything. Like, I've never seen an offensive team like this. It's unbelievable.
You're shooting 70% from the field.
Yeah.
And you're down by 6 points. That's ridiculous.
I kid you not. They throw everything at the hoop. Like, it goes in. Like, it's a fucking magnet.
That sounds like our game tonight. It was they couldn't, team we were playing couldn't miss. And it was stupid. It was guys that shouldn't be making shots, but they were making them. But anyways,
it's here in Shannon. Jesus out here. Like, I don't know. Like, everything
I
goes
would
into
not
question.
compare Terrence Shannon to Jesus.
Okay, he did rape someone, so that's a little extreme.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Let's
Allegedly.
We're gonna go back to
He's not even on the
episode 4
field.
here. We're going back to episode 4 here. They make it to the Super Bowl. They're 18-0, one game away from having a perfect season. And Robert Kraft, right before that, it cuts to Robert Kraft and says that it felt like the devil was at work leading up to the Super Bowl. Tom was at the time dating Giselle, just dating her, and he was visiting in New York, and paparazzi spotted him. He hurt his ankle, and they took a picture of him wearing a boot. It was posted all over the tabloids. And the other story that also came out was that they allegedly filmed the Rams walkthrough, which turned out to be completely fabricated. It was completely untrue, and they told the Boston Herald that they would sue them if they didn't retract the story. And which I was always under the impression that was actually true, but turns out that and that was back when journalism had some integrity. So turns out that I did not know that it wasn't true that they didn't. I always thought that like they did, but and then they go back to the game. They go to Michael Strahan talking about going into that game it was kind of the script was flipped from when the Patriots played the Rams in that first Super Bowl, that the Rams were the soft team. They were the pretty boys, where the Giants felt like they were that tough, rough and tough physical team. They were if we're going back to they were the greasers, and the Patriots were the Socs. If we're gonna quote the Outsiders book here, if you guys caught that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just going back to Kraft thinking the devil was at work. Nothing was more evident than watching the Eli escape again, where he should have been sacked 2 or 3 different times, and hucking the ball up to Tyree, and Teddy Bruschi talking about how they've been on that sideline before where they felt like the underdog. Nobody believed in them. And after that Tyree catch, it just felt like, yeah, they basically knew that it was over for them. They felt like the Giants had all the momentum, and there was nothing they were going to do to be able to stop that train.
I just remember watching that game that year, just kind of so sick of the Patriots. And after Moss scored that touchdown with 2.5 minutes left, I was just like, man, they're going to do it. They're going to pull off the undefeated season. And then your point, Dylan, when Tyree comes down with that, and you're like, how did this happen? Just like the sense of euphoria, like, yes, the evil empire is going to lose. The Patriots are going down. The Giants are going to win the Super Bowl, but then you always have it in the back of your mind, like, there's still enough time for Tom Brady out there to go out and score. This thing ain't over yet.
And watching that video in slow motion where because they go to Tom and he looks at Randy and tells him that, like, once I look at you, I want you to change direction. And Tom throws a beautiful ball, and it shows a great clip up close of Randy being covered by 2 guys and Tom throwing a pretty good ball. And Webster, the cornerback for the Giants, if he doesn't get his fingers on that, we talk about how football can be such a game of inches. 1 step too late, you miss it. You throw it a second late, you don't get it. You throw it early, that timing is off. If Webster doesn't get his fingers on the ball, the Patriots are in field goal range. They kick a field goal, and who knows that we might have been able to witness a perfect season, because if Webster doesn't get the fingers on the ball, Randy catches that for sure. I think Webster got enough to change the direction of the ball to where Randy wasn't quite ready for it, and it goes out of his hands.
I agree. Yep, the ultimate what could have been for the Patriots in NFL history.
That would have been so cool to see them undefeated.
It would have been. Because there are certain teams that you don't want to see undefeated, like the Green Bay Packers. That would have been terrible, but I think that wraps up episode 3 and 4 here. We'll be back next week for 5 and 6. But before we wrap up the show here, it is Curveball of the Week time, and I have it here. And this one came to me a couple of weeks back. So we all have jobs outside of being podcasters. Maybe someday. Someday we won't be that. This will only be our full-time. This will be our full-time job. But I want to know, at your guys' your day jobs, what is a work inside joke, dad joke that you tell that only the people you work with know?
Well, there's kind of for me, there's like it's kind of essentially me and Derek. We jokingly will call other people their wrong name, but the name we call them starts with the same first letter as your current name.
Okay.
So it'll be one of those where like, instead of Grant, I'm Graham. Like Graham Cracker. Derek is
Gary
DeAndre.
with a G.
Gary with a G. Derek is DeAndre. So like Ethan would be Eli.
Eli, okay.
And then for right now, you would be Derek Dillon. So it all kind of started like a couple of years ago. He was told one of his coworkers, no, actually, because the guy he was talking to, his name was Vasal. He goes, Vasal, you've been calling Grant the wrong name the whole time. His name is actually Graham. My boss, he's not Dave. His name is Doug. Another one I called coworkers, his name was Bobby, but no, his actual name is Bradley. So then this Vasal guy felt so bad that he was calling us the wrong names. He came up and apologized to us. And then we were like, oh, no, it's an absolute joke. My name actually is Grant. So then
you confused the shit out of him, I bet.
Yeah, well, we confused the absolute hell out of him. And so then we just kind of went around and started giving everyone else these nicknames. And we would unsolicited, like we would have conversations in like a computer room in an office, and we'd be talking to each other, and he'd be calling me Graham, and I'd be calling him DeAndre. And everyone else is like, what is going on? And then, I just unsolicited, I think one girl, her name was Randy. I said, well, Renee, it's okay. You wouldn't understand. And she go, whoa, how am I Renee? And then that's just kind of our joke where it's like you walk around and you're like, his name takes us Grant, but why are they calling each other Graham? Like, what? This doesn't make any sense here.
Getting people all confused. I love it.
We'll have full-on conversations with only using people's nicknames. And people are like, what are these two idiots talking about?
That is good.
Mm-hmm. So, Eli, what's your answer?
We have this team member. I guess he's a team lead at our store. But like, no one likes him. Like, just straight up, we don't like him. So, whenever you're talking shit about somebody, you more than likely think it's Robert. But one time, he came up to us and goes, "What did he have? He had corn dogs, fried chicken, and a chicken sandwich, all from the deli." And I'm like, "Man, that's a lot of food, man." And he goes, "Yeah, well, when you're built like a linebacker, you got to eat a lot of food." me and Kim, she's my HR expert, looked at each other. I could see her looking out of my eye like, "Oh God, what's this kid gonna say?" Because he's like my height, but just fat. Like, he's not built. He does not look out. Like, he's just funny. A chunk. And so when he said that, Kim just goes, what did she say? She goes, "And I'm a Victoria's Secret model, you know?" Like, and so every time we see him, he's like, "Oh, hey, there's the linebacker here," and she just cries laughing every time. So, yeah, that's that.
That's really good.
That is good. So mine is I spend a lot of time in coolers, filling, ordering, doing whatever. So one of my favorite jokes I like to tell the manager if somebody is in there with me is like, man, you guys got to fix your heater in here.
I said, okay. Yep. There's the dad joke in it right there.
Yeah.
It's so bad it's good. It's so bad it's good.
Yep, I actually got that one from Carrie. He started that one, so now I'm like, I have to roll with that one. And the other one that it's kind of funny is my boss and I we have this dynamic with each other at work where it's somewhere in between, like 50% of the time we're talking like we're a father and son, and then the other 50% of the time we are talking like we are husband and wife and arguing and being dramatic about stuff.
Sounds like a healthy work relationship.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you never listened to me. I told you about this. No, you did not. Yes, I did. And it goes back and forth. And then usually he volunteers to make me supper and other things that we won't get into here on the podcast.
Relations.
But also he's also referred to me as a walking HR violation, which I'm in my new role. I'm
For someone in HR, yes, you are. Yes.
Which is funny because I technically am an HR guy now, or I do HR stuff. So,
well, what's funny is guys, people in HR are the biggest HR violations out there.
Hey.
Because they exist.
Ethan,
you say it behind their back and nobody knows.
God, you are from the Midwest.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, if I know Ethan, he's on the job. He's telling people about, hey, this is the culture we need to have here. You know, be nice to people, this, and that. And then he'll be the one making jokes about someone being a fat ass and this and that. And it's like, yep, this guy should not be working in HR. But that's every HR department.
It's very true.
Even there's that people, or there are such straight arrow, straight laced, by the book HR people that they're so anal, it's unbelievable to deal with. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way, because yes, you sit at a cushy office and look at your computer all day. You're not actually out on the floor dealing with the idiots. You don't know what we have to deal with. So yes, sometimes I say a few things that I shouldn't. Do I say that they're so bad? No. When they do something good, if they do something good, I make sure they know about it. But that if I say something, call somebody a mean name, that's just my way of showing I like you.
Correct. If I'm not busting your chops, then I don't like you.
Exactly. That's why we get along so well. Is we're all this is been about an hour and 15 minutes of just straight ball busting here. So I think that wraps the show up. Do you guys got anything else? Do you guys got any other inside work jokes that you have that you can tell?
Don't.
No?
Nothing.
Nothing that's appropriate.
Nothing that's appropriate. Okay. Well, we'll stop recording and then we will you can tell us then, Grant. How about that?
That's fair.
All right. Well, that wraps up whatever episode this is of the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. We'll have the segments of the show out on Friday. You can check us out on all of our socials, 3GTB Podcast or Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Like, rate, review on iTunes, and we may or may not read it here on the show if we see it. So thank you guys again for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.